Let's now have a project on lists. It includes list methods, iterating over lists, while loop, if else condition. So we have two classes, class 1, Alice, Sandy, Dave, Sandy, and please notice that Sandy here is repeated twice. And we have another class 2, not given, but we will ask the user to enter it. So we have several choices here. Choice 1, we add students to the second class just to form it. The second choice is to view the students of the second class. We can remove any student from the second class. We can count students in the first class, which counts how many times an item is repeated in the list. We can sort students in the first class or sort them in the second class. We can extend classes, which means join the two classes to form one class. And finally, we can exit. Let's introduce a variable choice. We can assign any number between 1 and 8 to this variable. After having our choice, we apply the if else condition to execute several statements depending on which choice you have. If choice equals 1, then we will add students of the second class. So we will simply introduce name, a variable, where we will input the name of students of the second class. So between quotations here, just write enter students of second class or of class 2. Have a colon here, leave a space for neat input, and let's here have dot split. The split method here allows the user to enter a list with spaces between the items. Otherwise, whatever you enter on choosing the choice 1 will be taken as one string. Let's continue our code here. Then we have our class 2. Dot append name. What really happens here is that the append method applied herein adds the whole object, which is the given list here, to the new list class 2. Let's have our print class 2. And let's have a run here. We enter our first choice 1. Let's have the names again, Bob and Carl. See, that's what append does. It takes the whole input to be one object and appends it to the class 2. Please notice the two brackets here and the two brackets here. Instead of this append, we can simply apply another method. Let's have extend. Now extend here takes each item of the entered list separately and adds it to the new list class 2. Let's have our run now. Have our 1, enter Bob and Carl, and see what happens. Yes, we have just one list, not two embedded inside each other. Bob and Carl. Let's now go to the second choice, view students of second class. Let's use the enumerate method. So let's here have, instead of this pass, Let's print class 2 between quotations and have our print using the enumerate method. So let's write here for the counter I and have our comma name, which is the item in the iterable, in enumerate between brackets our list class 2, comma, start from 1, start indexing from 1, not 0, and have our colon here. For every sequence of I and name, just print using the F string and have between quotations here the placeholder I to put the value of I, have a dot here or a comma, another placeholder, and have our name. If the user starts with the variable choice equals 1 and inputs the items of class 2, then we have no problem. On executing the choice 2, we will have a list, we will just have a neat output. But what if the user starts with the choice 2, he has no list? And therefore, we must have an if condition here. So, let's have if class 2, which means if class 2 is true, otherwise we have our else here. Print the list is empty. Or let's print class 2 is empty. Now we have our choice 2. We have our third choice here is remove student from the second class. Instead of the pass now here, let's input the name which we want to remove. So apply a variable, remove name. This variable equals input and enter the name to be removed from class 2. And let's have our if condition to see if the name entered is truly in class 2 or not. So if the remove name in the membership operator, the list class 2, then execute class 2 dot the remove method, the name to be removed, remove name, and have a print here that the name is removed. So print using the F string between quotations and a placeholder here, remove name is removed. Otherwise, print that the name is not found in the class. So we have our else here, shift tab to write else, print using the F string and between quotations, placeholder, the remove name is not in class 2. Let's study the fourth choice here. We count students in the first class. We just input a name and ask the program to count how many times this name is repeated. So here we write, let's have our name to be tested equals input. Simply enter name to be counted. So we have enter name to be counted. Have our colon and a space here for neat input. And execute the following code. The count is class1.count. .count. And introduce our variable to be counted here, name. And let's have a print of the count of this name. So let's write print using the F string here, and between quotations, the placeholder name appears placeholder count times. Let's have this in class 1. For the fifth choice here, sort students in first class. So we will have here, instead of this pass for the choice 5, class1.sort, and have our brackets here. Let's print here, between quotations, class 1 sorted. Let's make sure here. So let's have our comma and print class 1. It should appear sorted. The sixth choice here is sort students in class 2. So just have a copy of this and change class 1 to be class 2. We have here class 2. The seventh choice, extend classes. So we have class 1 dot extend class 2. We will print here class 1 dot the method extend between brackets the second list class 2. And let's have an extended print here. Print between quotations extended classes. Let's have our comma here and the variable to be printed, the list class 1 now after extending it. Let's start running our program before applying the eighth choice. So let's have our run here. Okay, we have an error here, the indentation error, and it gives the line 21. So let's go to line 21. Yes, of course, there is an error here. Print is a part of the block if class 2, and therefore we must have an indent here. So let's apply our tab and have a rerun now. If we enter 1, And let's enter the names Bob, Carl, Joyce. And let's have run here. Yes, it prints our list. We notice that we can't have another choice here because the program was finished. A good way to deal with this issue is to apply a while loop here. So let's have while true, capital letter true, and have our colon here. And let's have all what's inside this while to be indented. Tab. Let's see what happens now. The flexibility we have in our program. Let's enter here 1. Let's have our students of the second class to be Bob, Carl, and let's have Joyce. Enter. Here you are. We have our list and another choice is available. So if we have 2, we have our enumerated class printed. Index 1 Bob, 2 Carl, and 3 Joyce. And we have the opportunity to continue our program without rerunning because of this while loop. So if you enter choice 3 now, let's remove Carl. Carl is removed and we can enter number 4. Enter name to be counted, of course, in class 1. Because this was our syntax, so let's say Sandy. We know it was counted twice. Appears 2 times in class 1. So what if we rerun 4? Re-choose 4 here and have another name in the list of class 1. Let's say Alice. We know that Alice appears 1 time. So Alice appears 1 time in class 1. Of course, you can have this as in times between brackets. Let's have the other choice 5. Names of the first class sorted. Yes, it is sorted now alphabetically. Let's have the choice 6. Class 2 sorted. Bob and Joyce. Remember that we removed Carl in a previous step. If you enter the 7th choice, choice 7, the extended class, here we have class 1. After sorting it, of course, because we had it sort in a previous step. And the second class is extended to it. Let's go back to the 8th choice, but let's here have a written code instead of this pass. So let's print, for example, goodbye, bye. And let's use our break here. Which tells the program to exit. Of course, if we enter any number out of the range from 1 to 8, else it prints invalid choice, please enter from 1 to 8. Say let's enter anything concerning class 1, say 4, to count Sandy. Sandy appears 2 times in class 1. If we enter the choice 8, it exits the program. Let's have another run. Let's enter again number 4 and enter, say, Alice. Yes, it prints Alice appears one time in class 1. And now if we enter, say, 9, any number out of the range, it will print invalid choice. Please choose from 1 to 8. Let's choose 8 and exit the program. This concludes with our project on lists.